Sustainable Development Goal number 9 calls on governments to promote sustainable industrialization and innovation by ramping up spending on R&D and increasing the number of researchers for every 1 million inhabitants. The top 5 R&D performers in absolute terms are all, not surprisingly, the largest economies in the world, namely the United States, China, Japan, Germany, and the Republic of Korea. But even when we look at relative data, that is R&D expenditure as a percentage of GDP, the ranking changes dramatically. The Republic of Korea comes first, followed by Israel, Japan, Finland, and then Sweden. This is clear evidence that research and development is the key to economic success. So, what does it take to transform an economy from struggling to one that grows in leaps and bounds? Well, first, you need to have an academia that has the knowledge potential and intellectual capacity. Next, you need creative sources of funding that are not bogged down by bureaucracy and can be drawn from the private sector. And finally, you need the government to coordinate this relationship. The government of Nigeria has demonstrated its desire to transform its economy to one driven by knowledge when it established the Tertiary Education Trust Fund as an intervention agency drawing funds from 2% tax on accessible profits of all registered companies in the country. Since then, the Board of Trustees and management of TETFund has strived to deliver a paradigm shift towards content produced through research and development. As part of this shift, TETFund inaugurated 12 Pioneer Centers of Excellence located on the campuses of the nation's first, second, and third generation universities. TETFund didn't stop there. It promised to support the centers not just financially, but in capacity building and every other way possible.
It is with great pleasure that I welcome you all to this capacity building workshop, the first of many more to come in the months and years ahead, aimed at adequately equipping you with the knowledge, information, and guidance that you will need in order to execute the undeniably daunting task of establishing, operating, and administering the TETFund Centers of Excellence in your various institutions. Precisely 3 weeks ago in the TETFund boardroom, we had the honor and privilege to present allocation letters for the establishment of the Pioneer 12 TETFund Centers of Excellence to the heads of institutions here today. You will recall that at that occasion, I made an undertaking on behalf of the fund in which I stated that we are not just giving you allocation letters and sending you off, leaving you on your own to grapple with the onerous task that the establishment of the TCOEs represents. I promise that when we at the fund, would be standing shoulder to shoulder with you every step of the way, ready to offer every support, guidance, and collaboration that will be needed in order for you to succeed in this challenging endeavor. This workshop today is the beginning of the fulfillment of that promise. I hasten to reassure you of our unwavering support towards the realization of the objectives of this laudable initiative.
In keeping with this promise, the Intervention Agency organized a 2-day capacity building workshop for heads of the selected beneficiary institutions and its staff. This edition of The Paradigm Shift focuses on Training Day 1, where the chairman of the TETFund Board of Trustees, Malam Kashim Imam, set the tone for the day. He spoke of the passion of TETFund's executive secretary in fighting for increments in research funding.
I acknowledge the role of research. I concede that if we put our physical infrastructure across all the universities and we don't fund research and scholarship. The universities will only be half fulfilled. So we must fund research. Everywhere we went, we are told VCs came forward to give testimonies, but for TETFund, but for TETFund, but for TETFund. We have to strike a very delicate balance between funding for infrastructure, physical infrastructure, on one hand, and funding research on the other. And it's to the credit of the academic community that you have a professor, a researcher, someone who is very passionate about research and development as the executive secretary of TETFund. He has also done so much for the academia, in particular research and development.
Speaking earlier, the executive secretary of TETFund, Professor Suleiman Elias Bogoro, outlined the objectives of the training and explained how crucial the centers will be to Nigeria as a whole.
It is our hope that adhering to these guidelines will engender the success that will, in due course, stand you in good stead to open up alternative funding streams, both locally and internationally, thereby ensuring sustainability and securing your future. For instance, the German Academic Exchange Service helps African universities establish centers of excellence, improve the quality of the education they provide, and increase their research capacities, thus enabling future decision makers in Africa to be trained in line with international standards. We've designated the TCOE guidelines to reflect global best practices, such that you will be in a position to satisfy the rigorous eligibility criteria some of these funding bodies attach to their grants.
In his opening remarks, the Director, Research and Development, Centers of Excellence to TETFund, Dr. Saliu Bakari Yire, gave examples of nations who have excelled by making huge investments in knowledge, which may not be tangible, but is perhaps the most impactful commodity.
Countries that today, that when they speak, you listen to them, are those countries that rely on knowledge. Talk about the United States, that has invested over $500 billion in research, in their science foundation. Talk about Brazil, talk about Singapore, talk about Malaysia, talk about Indonesia, talk about Dubai, talk about even Rwanda today. They are investing in innovation, in research and development, and they are transforming the narrative. They are changing the narrative. Nigeria can do it.
TETFund enjoys a special balance, which is a testimony to the success of its current board of trustees and management. The chairman has an unquenchable passion for infrastructure development, while the executive secretary is a champion for research and development. Both go hand in hand to raise the quality of tertiary education in Nigeria. Malam Buhari Mikailu is the director of TETFund's Physical Infrastructure Department. He gives a briefing of progress that has been made so far.
The equipment for physical infrastructure component will still follow the normal TETFund project approval stages. Packaging the projects, first identifying the items to be procured, preparing the bills of quantities, using market survey of the current market prices of such equipments, and the packaging of the equipment must include all complementary equipments that will go along with such equipments. And then the institution should make submission for approval in principle After the approvals is given, they are expected to go ahead and do the due process, the normal TETFund, that is advertisement in 2 national dailies and Federal Tenders Journal, or approach the BPP to apply for approval to do selective tendering. And thereafter, submit the documents to TETFund for release of funds, the normal TETFund at releases of tranches. I have circulated earlier on to most of the head of institutions the rough estimates, excluding the cost, but the scope of what we anticipated that would be considered in such proposal submissions. So essentially, we are expected to be properly guided by the Public Procurement Acts in the process of the procurement of such items of physical infrastructure. We are also to be well guided by the relevant financial cycles, especially in the procurement of other items that may become necessary as the work in running the centers of excellence.
On the supply side of knowledge, higher quality education, incentives for universities and think tanks to produce research, and research that is relevant to private sector are all central for an innovative society. TETFund is drawing inspiration from relevant initiatives to guarantee that its own plans succeed. The agency looked to the World Bank-supported Africa Centers of Excellence and the ACE Impact Project, whose objective is to improve the quality, quantity, and development impact of postgraduate education in selected universities through regional specialization and collaboration. The project supports 11 recipient countries to promote regional specialization among participating universities in thematic areas that address regional challenges and strengthen the capacities of these universities to deliver quality training and applied research. The 5 thematic areas are STEM, agriculture, health, environment, and applied social science/education. Nigeria is one of the 11 participating countries.
In 1 year of our center, we've gotten $553,000. We've gotten $234,000 for doing a randomized controlled trial on injectable iron on pregnant women to reduce anemia in pregnancy. Remember, we just mentioned that one problem is anemia in Africa. So therefore, we decided to sit down and write a grant on treatment of anemia in pregnancy using injectable iron, which we're not using now. So if at the end of the day we find it to be useful, then we can move to the next step of policy in trying to introduce injectable iron into our treatment of anemia in pregnancy. We've also done a project with WHO. We developed a new labor care guide. We're used to the pathogram that we used to monitor pregnant women. Now we have developed a new one in collaboration with World Bank. And what World Bank wants to do is that they want to introduce this new LCG to the rest of the world so that they can now replace the old patograph with the new LCG. And then we have a TETFund sudden cardiac arrest research that we're doing. And we also have ACE Network, and another French body, AFD, is also putting in money into African Centers of Excellence. So they encourage the Health African Centers of Excellence to form a network, and they are also funding us on doing COVID and other infectious diseases.
We started in 2015, so understandably we have produced graduates. And it's a regional center of excellence. We have graduated students from the Gambia, from Togo, from the Republic, from Liberia, from Sierra Leone. And we are proud of some of our graduates. If you look at the first one there, now is the regional director of the Upper River region in the Gambia. The second one is the regional director of the lower region river region in the Gambia. The other one is so all of them, many of them like that, we have graduated them and they are doing extremely well in their various countries. We have a way of tracking our graduates to see what they are doing. And even as we speak now, about 80% of our graduates are either self-employed or working with the government or working with the industries. There's none of them that is jobless, and of course, that means that we are delivering on the objectives of the Centers of Excellence.
When we started this program, we invited a lot of regional students to attend. They said no, they can't come to Nigeria because of security and some other issues. But we now travel around to all the regions to publicize the activities of this center. And then we inform them that they are going to be giving scholarship. Do you know that after our return, we receive more than 200 applications from the region, from the different countries in the region. So we are able to admit about 50 of them. And I'm proud to say today that last year, December, all of them have graduated at master's level. And about 20 of them have already applied again to continue with the PhD program. So we gave them free accommodation. And that is one of the major reasons why they are interested. Why our own local national students are suffering, we are giving them free, yes, because that is one of the conditions. If you don't attract regional students, World Bank will not give you anything. You lose money on that. But we make sure that our national students also benefit from the program in terms of sending them to conferences, internship, and so on and so forth. So we also provide support for internship. 1 month internship, we normally give about 200,000 naira to a student to go out on internship. And then for the lecturer, that we also go, 150,000 naira will be for that lecturer. If not, no, 250,000 naira will be for the lecturer. If not, they will not want to go, and the university is not ready to give any money. But at least we have a lot of fund in the center based on what we are trying to do, so that we can support most of these academic staff. And that is why, when we started lecturing, most of the lecturers are not really in support. In fact, it was a lot of problems. They don't know what you are doing. What bank, don't go away. So, but eventually, by the time they saw the benefit from what we are doing, everyone just bought into the program. And then they are really happy now.
Countries need to set their own spending targets for research and development. Setting up and operating a center of excellence is not an easy task. Clear principles and best practices have to be defined. A strong team with the right attitude has to be assembled. Templates and documents have to be developed. Stable and monitored environments need to be established. Processes need to be continually updated and improved. The next presentations for the training of those who will steward this initiative by TETFund was focused on modalities for setting up centers of excellence.
Remember that it's a team. It's not one person. All of us that we have given our experiences, we are representing a lot of other people that are back in our centers. So it is a team with a shared facility or an entity. So we must have a shared entity. And what does that team do? They provide leadership, all right? Because you're moving people along, so you are trying to lead people to a certain goal. We also provide best practices, everything, whether it's in teaching, whether it is in research, we're providing best practices. We're providing research, impactful research, all right? And we're supporting and providing training, all for a focus area. So you must identify a focus area. As you can see, the three of us, my focus was health, Akinyemi's focus was agriculture, and Aderomo's focus is ICT. So there must be a focus.
A technique is a way of carrying out a particular task, especially the execution or performance of an artistic work or a scientific procedure. TETFund understands that technique is vital. It trains the hands in certain patterns that it will need. It encourages flexibility, agility, strength, and endurance. The participants were treated to a session on techniques for teaching and research in centers of excellence.
Identity is very important. What are we solving? What are you known for? What is the focus? What is the direction? And if you have a clear-cut identity, let's look at the right-hand side. The output is recognition. You are known with something. Everybody knows that center of excellence for this particular thing. That's recognition. The second one is interdisciplinarity. In other words, other people are coming together to solve a particular problem. And you are open, you are flexible. The entire university, outside the university or environment, everybody knows what you are doing, even outside the country. You are open, you are guided, and then look at the output. You're able to make up records very easily. The third one is integrity. Whatever comes out of your center of excellence, integrity is very key. And that means you are transparent about it, you understand what you are doing, and if you have integrity, the output is that you have respect for that center of excellence, you have respect for whatever comes out of it. The next one is independence. Independence means that there's a reasonable latitude and dynamic freedom for students. Students are free to try to experiment so many things, to work in the classroom, to work in the laboratory. You have a lot of things that students can use. And when you do that, the outcome is that there will be results. When you have students, why is it that students go to Germany and US and then they come back with fantastic results? Because they have independence. They can sleep in the laboratory for 24 hours. Am I right? They stay there. For 24 hours, they're in the lab trying this, experimenting this, trying this, and at the end of the day, you get results. So those are, let's go to the fifth one. The fifth one is innovation. We are talking about innovation, and then which means that there are robust trials and experimentations. And when you are innovative, the output is that there will be rewards, financial rewards. So in our centers of excellence, we can publish newspaper publications, we can have products, but the most important is that we are innovative about it so that we can have financial rewards. Money can come in, industries can come in to buy in all of those things and then to take care of them. And then the last one, the sixth one is internationalization. There's face-to-face online mobility flow, regular workshop, and then the output of that is ranking. When you are internationalizing, then at the end of the day, you'll be well ranked as a center of excellence. It will also reflect on the university. The university will also be well ranked. And then the final one is the impact. The impact is that you are making a national impact, you are contributing to national development, and then you are well rated as a center of excellence.
The longevity of any endeavor cannot be achieved without clear and deliberate strategy. Strategy is what drives decision-making. By helping organizations identify their strengths and weaknesses, an effective strategy will help you decide where your efforts and resources are best spent. These decisions are crucial in ensuring your organization has a profitable, sustainable future. This is why TETFund invested in having a session on strategies for sustaining centers of excellence.
Long-term vision is number one. When we started that old park, the vision has been there since 2003. And then we started small, and we are going big. Okay, so you must have long-term vision. You integrate sustainability in all your projects. Any project you are doing, there must be sustainability. Communication and outreach, that is key. Involve key stakeholders. Diversify funding sources. Look beyond the donors. And then use donor database. These are the key sustenance strategies that we've employed in the last 10 years, and it's working for my center. Number one is the technical skills competency. So you employ more academic and technical staff with relevant skills. Don't say because this A is my friend, you are sending that person to that center. That guy is going to be useless. And then we are not going to achieve anything. Two, regular training and retraining of technical staff and even the students using the facilities. Okay, so that even if the technical staff is not there, those students using the facilities can also do what? Do some maintenance and repairs on the facilities. Number three, committed staff. Even if the funding is there, everything is there. If you don't have a committed staff, you are not going to get anything at all.
Capacity building is a measurable improvement in an organization's ability to fulfill its mission through a blend of sound management, strong governance, and dedication to assessing and achieving results. It is valuable and important because of its many long-term impacts. Capacity building encourages people to take action on issues by themselves. It is TETFund's desire that each center of excellence has a sense of ownership and empowerment so that Nigeria can benefit from future development. Confidence, skills, knowledge, and resources are all elements that increase from capacity building efforts. TETFund has demonstrated its commitment to the idea that Nigeria must begin to think and act differently if it is to join the league of developed nations of the world. And that is the paradigm shift.